Welcome, welcome. This week's topic is seize the moment. Grab the moment while it's there. This week's Parshas Yisro starts off, Vayishma Yisro, and Yisro heard what he heard. He heard about what happened with HaKadosh Baruch Hu taking the Yidden out of Mitzrayim, and he came to join the Bnei Yisrael. Rashi says, Ma Shama, what did Yisro hear? Uva, that was the impetus for Yisro to come. What specifically did Yisro hear that caused him to come join the Bnei Yisrael? So Rashi narrows it down a bit to two items. Number one, Rashi says he heard about Kriyas Yamsuf, he heard about the nace of Kriyas Yamsuf. And number two, Rashi says he heard about Melchemes Amalek. He heard about the war that the Bnei Yisrael fought against Amalek and won. And this caused Yisro to come and want to join the Bnei Yisrael in the Midbar in the desert. There's two questions on this. Number one, we just had a whole Yetzias Mitzrayim, all the Makkos and everything. What was it specifically about these two Nisim, about Kriyas Yamsuf and Melchemes Amalek, about the splitting of the sea and the war against Amalek that caused Yisro to come? Number two is, it almost seems funny to equate these two Nisim with each other. I understand that everything's in Nes, but at the end of the day, Kriyas Yamsuf was a supernatural, wondrous thing. The Medrash tells us that it wasn't only the Yamsuf, the water of the Yamsuf that split, but all the water across the world split as well. Melchemes Amalek, yes, they may have been a stronger nation, but at the end of the day, it was a war that the Bnei Yisrael won against Amalek. And we understand we're not going to say Koich V'etzim Yadi, yes, it was HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but still it almost seems funny to put both of these two Nisim on equal footing with each other. Number one, and that they were both the impetus for Yisro to come and join the Bnei Yisrael. So what's the pshat? What's the reason why specifically these two things caused Yisro to say, you know what? I got to come join the Bnei Yisrael. In order to understand this, I think we need to dig a little bit deeper into what is signified by both Kriyas Yamsuf, the splitting of the sea, and Melchemes Amalek, the war against Amalek. Let's analyze Kriyas Yamsuf first. So the Vilna Gaon says that when it came to Kriyas Yamsuf, there were really two groups of Bnei Yisrael. The first group of the Bnei Yisrael, the first group of Yidden, they were true ma'aminim, they were true believers in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They knew a nace would happen. They went straight into the Yamsuf, not worrying about what was going to be. The second group of Bnei Yisrael is the Vilna Gaon. The Vilna Gaon says that the second group of Bnei Yisrael, they didn't believe as much. They were nervous, and it wasn't until they saw that the first group of Yidden went into the Yamsuf and were safe that they said, you know what? We're going to go in as well. The Be'er Mayim Chaim takes it a step further. It takes it a little bit further than the Vilna Gaon, and he says that the Yamsuf, that Kriyas Yamsuf, actually happened twice. There were two times that the Yamsuf split. The first time was when the Bnei Yisrael were coming through. The second time, says the Be'er Mayim Chaim, was that the Yamsuf split again for Dasan and Aviram. Dasan and Aviram had been left behind in Mitzrayim. They were first coming now to the Yamsuf after the Bnei Yisrael had already crossed. If you want to understand what Dasan and Aviram were doing in Mitzrayim, you can listen to an awesome Dvar Torah on Parshas B'Shalach. But in any case, Dasan and Aviram came after the Bnei Yisrael to Kriyas Yamsuf, and says the Be'er Mayim Chaim that the sea split again to allow Dasan and Aviram to cross. Now you have to realize that Kriyas Yamsuf, besides for being a supernatural, tremendous wonder, which it was, but it also signifies HaKadosh Baruch Hu's love and HaKadosh Baruch Hu's acceptance of the Bnei Yisrael. Dasan and Aviram were the whole reason why Moshe Rabbeinu had to flee Mitzrayim, because they were going on telling on Moshe Rabbeinu to Parai that he killed a Mitzri. They were the whole reason why Moshe Rabbeinu fled Mitzrayim and even ran to Midian, to Yisro, in the first place. Yet, HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Rachmanis, HaKadosh Baruch Hu's love for the Bnei Yisrael, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always willing to take us back, ad kedei kach, to the point where there's even a second splitting of the sea. A second Kriyas Yamsuf for who? Just for Dasan and Aviram. This is tremendous inspiration that you could take from Kriyas Yamsuf that no doubt Yisro saw. But Amalek, on the other hand, the Melchama with Amalek, that signified the exact opposite of this. Amalek also saw what Yisro saw. Amalek also saw what the rest of the world saw. They saw that there was this Kriyas Yamsuf, that there was this tremendous supernatural nace that HaKadosh Baruch Hu did for the Bnei Yisrael. Like we said before, the Medrash says that the water all across the world split. Amalek knew that this Kriyas Yamsuf had happened. Yet, instead of taking the inspiration, what did they do? They took the opportunity to jump, to double down, to fight with the Bnei Yisrael, and to have a war with them to try to conquer the Bnei Yisrael right after Kriyas Yamsuf. In Parshas Kiseitze, at the end of the parsha, when the Torah describes what happened with the Milchama, with the war with Amalek, the Torah describes, it says, Asher Karacha B'derech, that when Amalek chanced upon you on the way when you were leaving Mitzrayim. Rashi says that what's the Lashon Asher Karacha they chanced upon you? Rashi says that the root of the word Karacha is the word kar, cold. That what happened? That Amalek cooled off. Rashi gives an example of boiling hot water, that Amalek cooled off the boiling hot water. They cooled off the inspiration that the rest of the world had by jumping in to fight the Bnei Yisrael, thereby paving the way for the rest of the nations to do it as well. After Kriyas Yamsuf, all the nations took a step back. They said, wow, look what HaKadosh Baruch Hu just did for the Bnei Yisrael. They were frightened. They were blown away. They were not about to start up with Klal Yisrael. But came Amalek, and Amalek cooled off those feelings. Amalek jumped in right away, ready to fight with the Bnei Yisrael, thereby cooling it off for all the other nations of the world. So not only did Amalek not grasp onto the situation, but they actually cooled off the inspiration for everybody else. So you have these two things in front of you. You have on the one hand the tremendous inspiration that shows the love that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has for Klal Yisrael. It shows how He's willing to always take us back. And on the flip side, you have the exact opposite. You have Amalek saying, not only are we going to choose not to be inspired, but we're going to ruin it for everyone else. We're going to ruin the moment for everyone else. It's not enough to just be inspired. We can't rely on the fact that we're inspired to take us through the times when it gets tough and when it's hard. We can't rely on the inspiration we once had to carry us through those difficult times. When we have a moment of inspiration, we have to take an action. We have to do something to cement that inspiration, to make sure that whatever it is that we wanted to change, whatever it is that we wanted to do, we're going to be able to carry through. Just like Yisro did when he has this inspiration after Kriyas Yamsuf. What does Yisro do? He doesn't say, I'm going to stay back in Midian and serve Hashem from my comfortable, cushy spot in Midian. He doesn't say, especially considering the fact that he's only with the Bnei Yisrael for a very short time before he goes back to Midian. Yisro says, no. I'm inspired. I see that I have this moment of inspiration. I see Amalek going and how quickly they could cool off this moment of inspiration. I'm going to get up and join the Bnei Yisrael in the desert because I have to take an action to cement this inspiration. It's the contrast of the inspiration of Kriyas Yamsuf with the cooling off of inspiration of Amalek that caused Yisro to say, I'm going to come and join the Bnei Yisrael right now. The Kotzker, Reb Menachem Mendel of Kotsk, says in the Pasuk in Mishlei, it says, Ki lekach toiv nasati lechem, teirasi al tazovu. This literally means, the Pasuk, the literal translation is, that see that I gave you a good acquisition, don't forsake my Torah. The Kotzker says that there's another way to learn the Pasuk. You can learn it like this. Ki lekach toiv, when you're gripped by good, when good takes over you, when you're struck by inspiration, nasati lechem, I gave it to you. HaKadosh Baruch Hu was saying, this inspiration didn't come out of nowhere. I gave you the inspiration. Toirasi al tazovu. Do not let go of my Torah. Do something right now to make it last. Inspiration is just a motivation. It's powerful, but it doesn't last. But inspiration followed by an action, that turns into momentum. And that can propel us to where we want to go and where we want to be. Let's try to live a little higher and really seize the moments and grab onto the inspiration. Take some kind of action to ensure that we could hold on to it before it disappears. Let's realize that nothing kills inspiration like procrastination.